Welcome back. You're still tuned into Midcap Radar on CNBC TV 18, and as promised, we focus on Sharda Cropchem. The agrochemical company delivered a weak set of numbers. It is especially on the margin front because of a significant exposure the company has to Europe, and the currency depreciation that we've been talking about is something that impacted the company's profitability as well. We have with us Mr. V Bubna, who's the Chairman and Managing Director, joining us now. Mr. Bubna, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for joining us. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Well, you know, we have been talking about how Euro has seen a decline versus the dollar, and despite that, you have seen a 12% growth. You still seen a revenue growth in Europe. That is the region where you have maximum exposure to. Was it largely volume driven? What really worked here despite the headwinds that we've been talking about?
Madam, this is because of the product mix and margins.
Okay, so
not volume driven.
So what was the volume growth in Europe?
Europe volume, 1 minute. I think there was a slight degrowth in the volume in Europe.
Okay. So you basically sold higher margin products, and that is the reason why Europe did comparatively well, still, despite all the headwinds that we have been talking about.
I have got the figure now. The volume, they've been a 4.5% degrowth in Europe on the volume.
Okay, so there's a 4.5% decline in terms of European operations. So what are you guiding for in terms of the European markets going forward for the second half? Are you expecting this kind of decline to probably exacerbate simply because of the situation that we're seeing? Inflation, tight gas supplies?
Madam, I think our performance will improve in the second half.
Could you quantify that? Could you quantify it, sir?
Beg your pardon?
Could you quantify the improvement that you're anticipating?
Madam, in the first half, there has been a biggest setback by foreign exchange loss. This foreign exchange loss will be reduced in the second half, mainly because now we are valuing our performance at the current rate, and we don't see much of a depreciation in the euro dollar from current level. On the contrary, people are expecting that it's going to go up. So that means the contribution, because of the evaluation of the receivables at the end of the second half, the difference will not be very much, and we will see an improvement in the performance.
Okay. So you are holding on to your guidance of 15 to 20% revenue growth and margins between 18 to 20% for FY23?
Madam, I will make a small change. It will be around 15 to 18% growth in the revenue, and EBITDA will also be in the range of 15 to 18%.
Okay, so you are cutting down on your guidance on EBITDA margins for the full year now?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Okay. All right, sir, you know, I was just looking at your segment breakup. Obviously, agrochemicals would be the bulk of your business, but if you could guide us in terms of how the non-agrochemical segment is doing, because that saw, I think, around a marginal growth this quarter as well. What are you guiding for in terms of, say, launches and business?
Madam, I would say deeper penetration into various segments in the world, and acceptability of the company's products and performance and service by the customers. So customers are very positive, and they are also absorbing part of the foreign exchange loss in the prices.
Okay. Your insecticides business saw declined around 22%. Anything specific? And at the same time, in fact, your other segment, which is basically your fungicides business, did very well. It was up around 50-odd%. Can you just tell us, you know, in terms of guidance for these two particular segments, what's driving growth, what's driving the decline, and what is the kind of growth we are expecting?
Madam, these qualifications or these analysis is mainly dependent on the weather factor. So in some of the countries which are more prominent and consuming insecticides, warm countries like India, in those countries there have been a lesser demand. Fungicides and herbicides are in the cooler countries, and their market situation has been good, and the revenues have grown.
Okay. Mr. Bubna, last question before we let you go. In terms of registration costs, have you seen any difference? Because you had told us they are very high, as I has setting up a plant in the European region. And in terms of capex, what does it mean for you? You were talking about 100 crore capex per quarter. What will this be for? How will you fund it?
Madam, we'll fund it all through our internal generation. And the capex on registration front is continuously on the increase, because the authorities are going more and more deeper into the analysis of the products and its performance, which implies higher cost of analysis and field trials and other things. So this will be continuously on the rise, and it also gives us a good entry barrier, and that will help the company.
Okay. All right, Mr. Bubna, thanks a lot for joining us, giving us your outlook on the company, the plans here, and the capex as well. Good luck for the future plans with the company as well.